My childhood companion suffers from insomnia and can only find solace in the sound of my voice to drift into slumber. It was not until he encountered that new flower that he miraculously recovered. For her sake, he fought with detractors, silenced her rivals, composed songs for her, and even arranged a marriage for me, someone who despised her. Upon hearing that the betrothed was an elderly man well past 50, I ran to him in tears, threatening my very existence as a means of persuasion. Chu Yi scoffed. How old are you to still play such childish games? Chi Miao, if you wish to die, do it quickly. Does everyone have the luxury of idleness like you? You are no longer a child. Although he is somewhat older, he is more than a worthy match for you. Suddenly, a barrage of comments appeared before me. Don't listen to him. Supporting character. Your marriage partner is a damp, scheming merman, a formidable and tragic antagonist. He loves you so deeply that he cannot extricate himself, possesses striking handsomeness, embodies the highest moral standards, and even sheds pearls when he weeps. Most importantly, he dreams of bearing your child. I quietly set down the knife in my hand. When is the wedding date? Can it be moved up? My intentions were simple. I merely had a fondness for fish. 1. As I poised the knife against my neck, my eyes brimmed with resolve. Suddenly, a flurry of comments erupted before me. Don't do something foolish, female antagonist. No one will mourn your demise. Moreover, the female protagonist will inherit your unparalleled voice, and Chu Yi will love her even more. Zhong Tiantian stood behind Chu Yi, shielding me from my piercing glare. Her almond-shaped eyes glistened with tears, captivatingly delicate, as she clutched the hem of Chu Yi's shirt, imploring me. I'm sorry, Chi Miao, I had no idea you despised me so much, but I truly cherish Chu Yi. If you wish to never see me again, I promise I will vanish from your sight. After all, your bond with Chu Yi spans over a decade, as his closest sister. I don't want you to come to harm. Her sobs were heart-wrenching, and Chu Yi, witnessing her distress, gently wiped her tears. Let her create a scene. It's not the first time, after all. Who doesn't he know she is terrified of pain? Yet here she is, pretending to commit suicide. You're simply too naive. Allowing her to bully you. He shot me an impatient glance. Haven't you made enough of a spectacle? You've held that knife for ages. Surely your hand is aching? So many people are waiting. If you intend to take your life, do it with decisiveness. The boy who once held me tightly now wished for my demise for the sake of another woman. 2. Chu Yi suffers from insomnia, needing to hear my voice to fall asleep. After my parents passed away, leaving me alone, the Chu family took me in as their adopted daughter upon discovering that my voice could alleviate Chu Yi's sleepless nights. Since the age of 8, I have lived under the same roof as Chu Yi, who clung to me, unable to bear even a moment apart. Prior to my arrival, he relied solely on medication for sleep. However, once I entered his life, he never touched the pills again. Each night, I would sing him a lullaby. Throughout our childhood, Chu Yi would accommodate me. Whenever I became upset with him, he would rush to apologize, claiming that seeing me cry shattered his heart. On the day I came of age, in front of the entire family, Chu Yi declared that he would marry no one but Chi Miao. I believed we would always be together. In our 3rd year of university, after a quarrel, I fled to a distant grassland to clear my mind. He pursued me through the night, enveloping me in a starlit embrace. His warm tears cascaded down my neck as he choked out, meow meow. Promise to take me wherever you go from now on? Without you, I can't sleep a wink. My heart feels hollow. I succumbed to his tears, soothing him. It's all right. Didn't I leave you a recording? Just as I wished to say more, a line of text suddenly appeared. Who would have expected that the lovesick puppy, who now yearns solely for Chi Miao, would later compel her to the brink of death for another woman? I thought I was hallucinating from gazing at the starry sky. At that moment, I was blissfully unaware that the man in my arms was the protagonist of this world, while I was merely a fleeting, malicious supporting character. 3. After graduation, I became the director of an entertainment company under the Chu family. When Chu Yi came to find me, it coincided with the rehearsals for a girl group audition. Zhong Tiantian, with her vivacious personality and charming appearance, unfortunately sang off-key and danced clumsily. The manager approached her with a stern expression, and with a blink of her eyes and a pout, a few tears fell. I turned to see Chu Yi gazing at her, seemingly enchanted, a smile gracing his lips. Perhaps it was from that moment that the wheels of fate began to turn. I once again encountered the peculiar comments from 2 years prior. Love at first sight. A classic scene. The girl is too adorable. The male lead must be smitten. Unable to blink. Although the female lead may be clumsy, she is undoubtedly charming. No wonder the male lead has shifted his affections. What nonsense. The supporting character is undeniably more beautiful than the female lead. What use is beauty when the male lead will ultimately abandon her for the female lead? A torrent of comments flooded my view. From those words, I realized that the world I inhabited was a novel, and Zhong Tiantian was the heroine of a sweet romance, with Chu Yi as her destined partner. I, of course, dismissed such absurd notions. Yet, regardless of my beliefs, from that day forward, Zhong Tiantian and Chu Yi grew increasingly close. Despite claiming to seek me out, they ended up engaged in laughter and banter, oblivious to my presence. Even after work, she insisted on sharing a ride home with Chu Yi. My heart raced, as if a piece of my cherished cake had been nibbled by another. I urged Chu Yi not to seek me out anymore. If he wished to see me, I would come to him instead. He furrowed his brow at my words, but ultimately acquiesced. That day, as we were to return to the ancestral home, Zhong Tiantian was not on our route. I quietly remarked to Chu Yi, the cake I bought spoils easily. How about I call a cab for Zhong Tiantian to head back first? Chu Yi contemplated for a moment before smiling and agreeing, whatever you say. However, just as we were halfway there, he received a call from Zhong Tiantian. On the other end, she sobbed, Chu Yi, I think someone is following me. I'm so scared. Chu Yi immediately turned around, speaking softly to her over the phone. Don't be afraid, stay on the line. I'll be there shortly. Upon arrival, Chu Yi exited the car, only to be enveloped in Zhong Tiantian's embrace. He tenderly caressed her back, his face etched with concern. From now on, I will protect you, and I'll take you home every day, all right? Thus, Chu Yi's daily agenda now included the task of escorting Zhong Tiantian home. I found myself rendered superfluous. Gradually, Zhong Tiantian and Chu Yi's bond deepened. She prepared heart-shaped bento boxes for him and shared bedtime stories. I realized that without me, Chu Yi could still find solace in sleep. I felt entirely replaced. Even during my menstrual cramps, when I fainted from the pain, my plea for Chu Yi to take me to the hospital elicited no response from him. Meow meow. Don't be difficult. I've called a cab for you. Tian can't be without me. Bear with it. I'll send assistantly to keep you company. Later, I learned that the man who had been stalking Zhong Tian was not a fervent fan, but rather her adversary. Zhong Tian's family owned a factory that went bankrupt due to poor management. Her parents fled abroad with the assets, leaving behind a mountain of debt and workers who labored for a year without pay. The man following her, Cheng Xian, had a daughter suffering from leukemia, waiting for his wages to fund her surgery. When the factory collapsed and the owner fled, he sought Zhong Tian. When he threatened her for repayment with a knife, Chu Yi intervened, mercilessly beating him. Chu Yi kicked the man's arm with such ferocity that it nearly proved fatal. By the time the police arrived, the man had already lost consciousness. Chu Yi bore a scratch on his face, and as I stepped forward to tend to him, he brusquely shoved me aside. He knelt before the terrified Zhong Tian, enveloping her in a tight embrace. I'm sorry for frightening you. I stood directly in front of him, yet his gaze was fixed solely on her. Chu Yi was aware of my fear of pain and had always treated me with tenderness. However, when he pushed me earlier, I collided with a nearby exposed brick, my leg bleeding profusely. Yet I did not cry, for at that moment, Chu Yi was occupied with wiping Zhong Tian's tears, his face betraying an overwhelming compassion. In that instant, I comprehended with stark clarity. My pain, my tears, no longer stirred any emotion within Chu Yi. Subsequently, Cheng Xian was sentenced, but Chu Yi remained uneasy. He urged Zhong Tian to exit the entertainment industry and join his company as an assistant. At social events, the woman accompanying him was no longer me. During cooperative engagements, he naturally accepted the wine glass handed to Zhong Tian and pulled her into his embrace. The handcrafted storybook I had once created for him was now entrusted to Zhong Tian. What terrified me further was that Chu Yi brought Zhong Tian into his home. I merely took a brief trip, and upon my return, I discovered that my room had vanished. Meow meow. Tian will sleep next door to me. Your room has been moved to the third floor. Ascending to the third floor, I open the door to find my belongings carelessly strewn about, tattered pages from books, shattered glass vases, and photographs littering the floor. Downstairs, the laughter of the Chu family and Zhong Tian echoed cheerfully. I must admit, Zhong Tian lives up to her name. Her sweet words charm everyone around her. Even the stoic Chu father, usually inscrutable, was all smiles in her presence. Chu mother, who suffers from migraines, received a soothing massage from Zhong Tian and in her delight, adorn her with ancestral bracelets. I finally came to believe that this world is indeed a novel revolving around her. No matter how begrudgingly I felt, I could not halt the tide of affection directed toward her. I contemplated leaving the country, escaping this sweet pet center. However, the Chu family informed me that I was to be sent to a marriage alliance in Hu City. The formidable tycoon there, rumored to be involved in illicit dealings, was over 50 and possessed a fearsome countenance. I was filled with dread. I rushed to Chu E's room, pleading, Chu E, please persuade uncle and aunt not to force me into this marriage. Can I not marry? Yet, Chu E merely brushed my hand away, indifferent, and took a sip of his tea. Meow meow, you are no longer a child. Though he may be older, he is more than worthy of you. My heart sank into despair. Recollections of the last marriage prospect introduced by the Chu family surfaced, a balding man, on his second marriage, whose ex-wife had suffered domestic abuse at his hands and even ended up in police custody. It was only due to Chu Yi's intervention that their plans were abandoned. The Chu family had always regarded me as a mere commodity. When Chu Yi needed me during his sleepless nights, I was the esteemed foster daughter. But when he no longer required me, I became a pawn for trade. I felt utterly trapped, and in my desperation, I seized a fruit knife. As I pointed the sharp blade at my neck, there was not a flicker of concern in Chu Yi's eyes. It was hard to imagine that just 2 years prior, he had fretted for hours upon seeing a mosquito bite on my hand, incessantly spraying mosquito repellent around me, terrified I might suffer another bite. In a daze, Zhong Tian suddenly screamed, startling me, causing the knife to graze my skin. A line of green text in the comment section caught my eye. The supporting female character is so pitiful, a chandelier suddenly fell, striking the knife, and though she survived, her vocal cords were injured, rendering her mute. She thought the male lead and the Chu family would feel guilty and heartbroken, but they merely sighed and quickly forgot. By the way, I heard the supporting female character's unparalleled voice was fortuitously claimed by the female lead, leading the male lead to sleep more soundly while listening to her. The Chu family, moved by Zhong Tian, willingly made her their daughter-in-law. I remember the ring used for Chu Yi and Zhong Tian's wedding was an heirloom from Qi Miao's parents. Indeed, it is said that the ring was crafted from mermaid tears, worth over 100 million. A chill coursed through me. A wave of unutterable despair permeated my very bones. Why? Must everything I hold dear be relinquished simply because Zhong Tian is the female lead? A bold, enlarged comment suddenly appeared before me. Don't be sad, supporting female character. Your marriage prospect is a beautiful, strong, and tragic merman, not some elderly man. That damp merman cherishes you dearly. It is said he nearly cried himself to sleep for an entire night, distressed by your plight, tenderly caring for your wounds. Not only is he incredibly handsome, but he also embodies the highest virtues, and most importantly, he loves you unconditionally. I was left in a stupor, bewildered. A merman? The discussions in the comments became increasingly fervent. It is said that this merman has been devoted to the supporting female character since childhood, making great efforts to ascend to the surface just to reunite with her. Whenever the supporting female character is bullied and cannot voice her pain, the merman takes on 2 roles, playfully teasing her until she blushes. The petite supporting female character, when held by the towering merman, finds her feet pressing against his sensitive scales, igniting a warmth in him. The merman loves water. While the supporting female character bathes or swims, he mischievously entices her directly in the water. While the domineering CEO's sweet pet plot is delightful, the merman's obsessive and twisted affection is even more exhilarating. The heated discussions in the comments left me blushing with embarrassment. Why didn't anyone mention this sooner? I am a standard case of being captivated by the extraordinary. Had I known this was the storyline, who would wish to die? In the living room, a group of people remained gathered around Chu Yi. Qi Miao listens to you the most, Chu Yi. You must persuade her not to do anything foolish. A flicker of impatience crossed Chu Yi's face. He knew all too well that Qi Miao was terrified of pain. How could she truly attempt suicide? This was merely a ploy to threaten him into allowing her to stay with the Chu family. Yet she must understand, no matter her personal feelings, the future mistress of the Chu family would be Tian Tian. He could not continue to indulge her whims. Qi Miao, put down the knife. Must you create such a spectacle? Your parents only want what is best for you. If you are unwilling to enter into a marriage, I will convince them to let you stay for another 2 years. But let me be clear, if you remain here, you are not to bully Tian Tian again. Before he could finish, I swiftly dropped the knife and hurried to the Chu parents. When is the wedding date? Can it be moved up? The crowd fell silent for a moment. Chu Yi, finally realizing what I meant, grasped my hand. Qi Miao, there are limits to jest. I shot him an incredulous glance. Who among us is joking? Chu mother, seeing my composed demeanor, feigned comfort. It is good that you can accept this. Mr. Lan intends to have the engagement next month. Should you have no objections? I responded resolutely, I have no objections. No sooner had the words left my lips than the chandelier in the living room suddenly plummeted, striking precisely where I had just stood. Seeing that I remained unscathed, Zhong Tian Tian shot me a venomous glare. I recalled the comments indicating that after I injured my voice, she had seized the opportunity to enhance her vocal prowess, later releasing several albums under Chu Yi's auspices. Casually, I glanced her way and remarked, Sister Tian Tian, you look rather pale. Could it be that you are disappointed I was not struck? As the crowd's skeptical gazes turned towards her, Zhong Tian Tian instantly donned the guise of a drama queen, clutching Chu Yi's arm and bursting into tears. I didn't mean it. I was merely frightened. Miao Miao, I know you despise me, but I have never wished to harm you. Upon seeing her cry, Chu Yi's expression hardened as he commanded me, Qi Miao, is this how the Chu family has raised you? Where is your decorum? Apologize. Had this been in the past, hearing Chu Yi speak to me so harshly would have brought me to tears. But now, as I looked at him, I laughed aloud. You are right. I indeed owe an apology. I am truly sorry for returning and interrupting your family gathering. Do not be upset. I will be married soon, and if I am bothersome, you will not have to see me often. Chu Yi was momentarily taken aback before scoffing. What trickery are you playing now? Are you trying to entice me with the illusion of withdrawal? Qi Miao, I'll say it once more. Do not set your sights on me. Suddenly, Zhong Tian Tian whimpered. I think my hand has been cut. It hurts so much. The superficial scratch on her hand was merely a few millimeters deep. How fortunate that it had not gone untreated and healed. Chu Yi anxiously took her hand, urgently calling for the butler to fetch a first aid kit. Yet, inexplicably, he glanced back at Qi Miao. An unfamiliar emptiness washed over him, as if she might truly depart from his world forever. Yi, she called, pulling him from his reverie as he tightened his grip on Zhong Tian Tian's hand. Perhaps he was overthinking it, given Qi Miao's temperament. She would likely stir up trouble again. How could she ever abandon him for marriage with someone else? It seems he is feeling envious due to the affection shown towards Zhong Tian Tian, which is rather juvenile. The following day, the Lan family sent someone over. As an emerging force in the Shanghai circle, the Lan family maintains an air of mystery. Rumor has it they originated from the jewelry business. Yet their assets are exaggeratedly vast, and their influence formidable. Even the illustrious Chu family finds themselves in a position of subservience to the Lans. It is said that the head of the Lan family is a man past 50, known for his ruthless tactics and rugged appearance. When I cautiously entered the reception room, the figure was facing away from me, gazing out the window, clad in a black shirt and tactical straps, with legs that seemed to defy gravity. I could only think of one word to describe his silhouette: alluring. Upon turning to face me, a new word sprang to mind: master. Lan Qi cast a glance in my direction, remaining silent as he gestured for me to sit down and converse. He casually opened the laptop in front of him. The adopted daughter of the Chu family harbors an obsessive love for the heir of a wealthy family, resorting to threats of self-harm to gain favor. A concubine loves her paramour, yet the heir of the Chu family breaks ties with Qi Miao to win the smile of his beloved. This cannot be right. How did it become an obsession, and how could it be said that the concubine's lover was indifferent? I lowered my head, feigning ignorance. I had thought the president of the Lan family would be magnanimous, yet I was surprised to find that such trivial gossip could reach his ears. Having heard that Lan Qi was involved in ruthless dealings, my actions felt akin to plucking feathers from a tiger's mouth. Do you like him that much? Lan Qi's tone was calm, his expression inscrutable as he regarded me. Well, after more than a decade of childhood affection, it must be difficult for Miss Qi to let go. However, since you have agreed to be my wife, I hope Miss Qi can soon release her past sentiments. I had anticipated anger from him, yet he spoke with such tranquility and reason. Is this what the comments refer to as a villain? So serious?
Oh.
Look at President Lan, he has quite the domineering vibe. On the way here, he was clearly crying, his palms so tense they turned red, fearing Qi Miao would abandon him. Gazing at the barrage of comments before me, and then at Lan Qi's cold demeanor, I felt an incongruity. Is he prone to tears? Lan Qi noticed my daze, furrowed his brow, and tapped the table. Miss Qi, in light of the current public sentiment in the capital, to avoid further complications, I suggest you relocate to Shanghai, under the pretense of being my fiancé. This way, you can evade the media's malicious slander, and it would also facilitate your efforts to forget your former love. Moreover, I have heard Miss Qi enjoys swimming. My family's pool is quite expansive. His words sent the once quiet comments into a frenzy. Is the pool the only thing that is large? And as for forgetting the past, he simply wants you to live in his house to execute his seduction plan. In the original story, Lan Qi feared Qi Miao would leave him and resorted to all sorts of schemes to entice her daily. He appears as a gentleman, maintaining his composure. Yet in private, he sweats and weeps in bed. My face flushed slightly, and I forced myself to respond with a semblance of calm. Then I shall heed Mr. Lan's advice. No need for such formality, just call me by my name. Very well, Mr. Lan. Lan Qi gave up on correcting my address and asked, do you have much luggage? How long will it take to pack? Is he in such a hurry? Not much. I can pack it all today. Upon returning to the Chu family home, I gathered only a few articles of clothing and some belongings of my parents. Before departing, I visited the hospital. Chung Xian had been arrested and imprisoned, leaving his 8-year-old daughter awaiting surgery in the ward. I transferred a sum of money into the hospital's account, sufficient for the little girl's operation. Once that was settled, I boarded Lan Qi's private jet and flew back to Shanghai overnight. I had expected him to take me to his family villa, but instead, he brought me directly to a grand estate. Upon entering the bedroom, which was spacious enough for horse riding, I was left speechless. Brother, are you planning to drive a car indoors? What's the matter? Do you not like it? You used to adore rooms with large windows as a child. Childhood? I was puzzled. Had I met Lan Qi before? Didn't we just meet? You knew me once? At my inquiry, Lan Qi's expression shifted to one of disappointment. You likely do not remember me. The comments were in a frenzy. How could the supporting character possibly remember him? At that time, he was captured and taken to a lab, and it was the supporting character's parents who rescued him. He was merely a fish then. It's fortunate that her parents were marine biologists, able to recognize Lan Qi as a rare specimen. Yet they were always too busy, leaving her to play with the Little Mermaid. When they first met, the supporting character was just 5 years old, a greedy little girl always demanding fish to eat. Rumor has it that mermaids only differentiate genders upon reaching adulthood. Perhaps Lan Qi transformed into a man because of her? Yet upon surfacing, he discovered she had fallen for another, resulting in him weeping in despair, lurking obsessively in her life. As I read the spoilers in the comments, a 2-year-old memory resurfaced. At that time, I was suffering from my menstrual cycle and low blood sugar, pleading for Chu Yi to take me to the hospital, yet he was only concerned for Zhong Tiantian's safety, hailing a cab for me without a second thought. The moment I stepped out, I fainted, my leg colliding with a flower bed, causing tears to stream down my face in pain. Amidst the surrounding chaos, someone lifted me and carried me to the hospital. I had no idea who saved me that night. I only remembered a gentle hand tending to the wounds on my leg, accompanied by a voice softly weeping. Can you not choose him?
Please look at me instead.
Upon waking, I thought it had all been a dream. Later, Chu Yi gave my room to Zhong Tiantian. In the midst of my sorrow, I resolved to find a hotel. However, halfway there, a torrential rain fell, drenching me completely as I walked and sobbed, the slick streets causing a car to lose control and head towards me. In my hazy consciousness, I saw a massive fishtail. I heard a tender voice amidst the chaos. Meow meow, do not like him anymore. I cannot bear to see you cry. I do not want you to weep. Yet he was crying more than I was, choking back his words. Will you be my wife? Perhaps it was a shared sorrow. I faintly replied, okay. When I next awoke, I found myself in my own room, the disarray tidied. Beneath my pillow lay a palm-sized fish scale, dazzling in its iridescence. I had presumed it was a gift from Chu. Yet now I ponder, that scale seems to belong to a mermaid. And the man who saved me, his voice bore an uncanny resemblance to Lan Qi's. With this realization, I sat up in shock, hastily rummaging through my luggage. In a wooden box, I discovered the fish scale. Under the dim light, the dark blue scale mirrored Lan Qi's eyes. The mermaid's reverse scale symbolizes loyalty, commitment, and a love unending. How peculiar that someone so significant could fade from my memory entirely. It feels as if a veil of fog has obscured all recollections of him, leaving me with only thoughts of Chu. I recalled the plump little fish from my childhood aquarium, its shimmering tail wagging eagerly upon seeing me, akin to a little dog. Later, when its wounds healed, my father released it back into the ocean. I had cried for a long time, reluctant to part ways. It seems we have known each other for far longer than I realized. He had struggled to swim to my side while I had thought it was our first encounter, leaving me with a strange sense of guilt. The next day, when I sought out Lan Qi, I found him swimming. In the vast pool, his agile form glided through the water. Though lacking a fishtail, he resembled a mermaid nonetheless. I sat on the edge, captivated by the sight, until he noticed me and swiftly swam to shore. Water droplets cascaded down his sculpted face, tracing the contours of his chiseled abdomen, ultimately disappearing into the snug gray swim trunks. Wrapping himself in a towel, he approached me. Why are you up so early? Is it not to your liking? I shook my head. I find it quite agreeable. Gazing at the blush that tinged his earlobes, a playful impulse surged within me. By the way, I began. I once reared a blue mermaid. Oblivious to what nourished its growth, it became quite rotund. Consequently, despite its exquisitely beautiful tail, every time I beheld it, I couldn't help but imagine how delectable it would taste. It seemed that a thought crossed Lan Qi's mind as the corners of his mouth lifted in a subtle smile. Did you ever taste it? He inquired.
No, iraplia.
However, I continued, fixing my gaze upon his face with earnestness. I have just spotted another mermaid, who appears equally delectable. I wonder what flavor it possesses? His face gradually flushed crimson, and he averted his gaze, unable to meet my eyes. Did I come to your mind? I teased. The little chubby fish seems to have slimmed down. Yet, he met my gaze and murmured softly. Even if I have slimmed down, I can still satisfy your hunger. The barrage of comments erupted once more. Is this a culinary channel? Could you refrain from flirting in front of me? I just want to see how to eat it. Qi Miao's obsession with food tasting spans 18 years. Who could look at Lan Qi's physique and not exclaim how delectable it is? Female supporting character, stop fishing. He debite even a direct hook. Lan Qi's gaze lingered on my waist and abdomen as he grasped my hand. Would you like to touch? I swear, I had no impure thoughts. My hand moved of its own accord. Contrary to the anticipated turmoil, life at the Lan residence unfolded with unexpected tranquility. Lan Qi seldom visited the company, conducting his work from home. Whenever I raised my head while watching a drama, I would find him stealing glances at me. Upon being discovered, he would not shy away, but rather gaze at me with gentle eyes. More often than not, I found myself at a loss. He was vastly different from my expectations, possessing a cool, distant visage, yet engaging in meticulous tasks. My long hair cascaded down to my waist, and after washing it, I often felt too lazy to blow dry. He would not allow that. Instead, he would gently dry my hair from behind. His slender, warm fingers weaving through my locks elicited a delicate, tingling sensation. Due to the limited clothing I had, he invited a designer to our home to measure my dimensions and craft numerous exquisite dresses for me. Daily, he took delight in coordinating outfits and arranging my hairstyle, as if indulging in a real-life dress-up game. On sleepless nights, after sipping milk tea, He would perch by my bedside, singing lullabies repeatedly, his voice reminiscent of celestial melodies. Listening to him, I felt as though I transformed into a little boat, adrift upon the gentle waves of the sea. He was exceedingly gentle, almost unearthly, although he was indeed not human. I recalled the comments in the barrage labeling him a weepy, gloomy man. Yet, he appeared emotionally stable and bore no trace of gloominess. I had assumed the comments were erroneous, until one fateful day, a sudden downpour enveloped us. From my window, I caught sight of the resplendent fishtail in the pool. Lan Qi suddenly broke into song, different from his usual lullabies. His tone was melodic yet deep, almost seductive, as he beckoned me to the pool's edge. He took my hand and placed it over his heart. Thump, thump. In a moment of distraction, I slipped into the pool, landing in his embrace. As I began to struggle, I noticed the glistening tears at the corner of his eye.
Meow meow.
I reached out, and, to my astonishment, I found that I had indeed transformed the tears into pearls. His grip tightened, and his fish tail gently entwined around my calves as he softly called my name. Meow meow, do you like it? I swallowed hard. Like what? My flavor. Would you taste it and tell me if it is delightful? A delicate pink berry was presented to my lips. I took a gentle bite, and his weeping resonated in my ears. He pulled me into his embrace, his soft lips silencing my objections. At that moment, I became convinced of his seductive prowess. I wondered if the thunderstorm held a special significance for mermaids. He cast aside his daytime restraint and gentleness, his silvery hair intertwined with mine, his bare chest radiating warmth. Do not speak. He tenderly covered my mouth. Do not reject me, meow meow. Brother, might you allow me to utter a few words? Do I appear to be someone who would refuse? I recalled the barrage mentioning that once I became mute, Lan Qi would always weep while fervently speaking in dual roles, pouring forth endless flirtation. Lan Qi guided my hand towards his fishtail, his gaze fragmented yet fervent. When I heard you attempted to take your life for that foster brother, I was terrified. Terrified that I might never see you again. Every time I witnessed your tears, it broke my heart. I wished to eradicate those who caused you pain. But I feared your sorrow, feared that you might resent me. I could bring you joy. Look, now that those people are gone, isn't it inconsequential? Meow meow. A mermaid can only love one person for a lifetime. Do not leave me, will you? His voice ebbed and flowed with the thunder. His tail swayed gracefully in the water, and as he embraced me, I felt as though I too had morphed into a fish. Sweat and tears mingled in the pool, the droplets echoing like pearls splashing. The waves threatened to bring forth my tears, and in frustration, I bit into his palm. He chuckled softly, meow meow, you are adorable. As the storm subsided, I melted into a puddle of water. Lan Qi returned to his usual self, carrying me into the bedroom, fetching a towel to dry my body. Noticing my silence, he cautiously apologized. Just as I saw tears welling in his eyes, I pressed my finger to his lips. How do you know I would refuse you? Lan Qi, I do not harbor feelings for Chu Yi, nor do I dwell on him. Marrying you is my own volition. A tear lingered on his eyelashes, and for a moment, he was taken aback by my words. I caressed his face. I am not deceiving you. I will not leave you. I will give you anything you desire. His eyes instantly sparkled, and he rolled over to embrace me. Really? His voice was hoarse. Even if you deceive me, I would accept it. I have long been your captive, meow meow. Even if it is my life, I will give it to you if you desire. That night, he did not weep again. Rather, it was I who became entangled, seduced, and ultimately rendered voiceless with tears. For a fleeting moment I felt he was not a fish, but rather a bull. The following day, I rose, dragging the traces of our night together, a faint blue fish tail mark adorning my collarbone. He chuckled softly, squeezing my hand. The mermaid's bride, you cannot escape. As the wedding date approached, the Chu family summoned Lan Qi to discuss the marriage arrangements. Returning to the Chu household, the atmosphere remained suffocating. The Chu parents had never favored me. I had known this since childhood, although they had taken me in at my parents' request. Had it not been for my voice alleviating Chu Yi's insomnia, they would likely never have allowed me to remain in their home. To ensure that their old friends treated me kindly, my parents had donated all their patents and assets to the Chu family. Yet, they still regarded me with disdain. 2 years prior, when Zhong Tian emerged, Chu Yi's insomnia was miraculously cured. Her cheerful demeanor and gentle disposition quickly won over the Chu parents. Compared to me, their foster daughter, she effortlessly gained their approval. This left me, already starved of affection, drowning in a pathological need for validation. I desperately sought their approval, harming myself in the process, repeatedly inflicting wounds upon myself to gain their attention. Yet, rather than garnering concern, I inadvertently provided Zhong Tiantian with an opportunity. The meals I meticulously prepared were dismissed by her as too greasy and salty, detrimental to health, and the Chu parents, not sparing a glance, commanded the servants to discard them. When I fled home one rainy night, she remarked, "Meow meow, even if you dislike me, you shouldn't worry the elders." The Chu parents immediately abandoned their plans to send someone after me. Her buoyant spirit and thoughtfulness indeed made her more suitable as the daughter-in-law of the Chu family. They did not hold her humble origins against her. A Yi's marriage need not adhere to social standing. What matters is personal preference. Yet here I was, the foster daughter, being used as a pawn for a marriage alliance. How absurd. Since the last suicide incident, I have thoroughly discerned their true nature and will no longer beseech for love that does not belong to me. Upon seeing me, Mrs. Chu warmly approached. "Why, isn't Mr. Lan here? He has matters to attend to and will arrive later." Upon hearing that he was absent, her expression immediately drooped. "I see. Then you may sit by yourself for a while. I shall not keep you company." She could not even feign politeness with me. Suddenly, as if struck by a thought, she cast a sidelong glance my way. "Since you have already decided to be with Mr. Lan, you ought to rid yourself of any improper thoughts. Do not linger around Xiao Yi all day. That Zhong Tiantian, though lacking in status, is obedient. Your uncle and I have already agreed to let Xiao Yi marry into the Chu family, with the wedding scheduled for the end of the year, aiming for a grandson by next year." She feared I might still hold on to hope, yet I merely smiled politely. "They do indeed make a perfect match." She looked at me in surprise, seemingly unprepared for my calm demeanor. After a pause, she continued, "Recently, we've acquired a new dog, and your room has been converted into a pet room. When you return, you shall stay in the guest room." That dog was brought by Zhong Tiantian. Chu Yi had a cleanliness obsession. Previously, when I suggested getting a cat, he was opposed, yet now he had taken to having a dog. Zhong Tiantian had taken my room once, and now her dog was claiming it a second time. With so many vacant rooms in the house, it was suspicious that they had their eyes set on mine. No one would believe it was unintentional. "It's quite all right. There's no need to reserve the guest room for me. I likely won't be coming back." Mrs. Chu smashed a cup.
Meow. What do you mean by that?
"Are you blaming me? I am truly exasperated. The Chu family are all peculiar. They have raised a dog for over a decade and yet treat the female lead like an enemy. Indeed, had it not been for Qi Miao's parents back in the day, the Chu family might have long since gone bankrupt. They accepted investments from her family, yet treat their daughter so poorly. If Qi Miao's parents were alive, how heartbroken they would be. They merely wish to exert control over the female lead. The Chu family has thrived thanks to Qi Miao's parents. With Chu Yi's illness, only the female lead can provide a cure. Their gratitude has turned into animosity, and the imbalance in their hearts is palpable. Fortunately, this time the female lead did not resort to extremes. These people would never feel remorse over her demise." Suddenly, a delicate voice called out from behind. "What's the matter, aunt? Who has upset you?" Turning to look, I saw Zhong Tiantian, one hand holding the dog, and the other linked with Chu Yi, casting a quick glance in my direction. Meow Meow has returned? Where is your gentleman? He is busy and will be here shortly." Upon hearing this, Chu Yi shot me a cryptic glance. Zhong Tiantian giggled to Chu Yi. "I've heard that Mr. Lan is mature and composed. Meow Meow will surely be well cared for." Chu Yi scoffed. "Indeed mature, but not without its sharp edges. The last time Lan Qi came to find me, he did not publicly reveal himself. These people still believed him to be the elderly man rumored to be over 50. I had no desire to engage with them. Suddenly, I felt someone wrap their arm around my waist, and Lan Qi's teasing voice reached my ears. Why was I not aware that I had aged to the point of being sharp? Upon seeing Lan Qi's face, the room fell into an astonished silence.
Today,
he donned a black suit, a dark gray vest paired with a navy tie. As he strode in at 6 feet 3 inches, his imposing presence overshadowed Chu Yi, who appeared as little more than a bystander. Zhong Tiantian gasped in disbelief. You are Mr. Lan? Lan Qi glanced at her nonchalantly. You must be Zhong Tiantian, correct? I am indeed mature and composed, and I will take excellent care of my wife, so there's no need for you to concern yourself. He then lowered his head and asked me, Have I kept you waiting? Were you bullied? I shook my head. Have you finished your business? Not quite yet. Lan Qi had been discussing matters with Mr. Chu in the study for half an hour. During this time, Zhong Tiantian had been incessantly probing about him, which irked me greatly. I thought to myself how Chu Yi was truly a renja, allowing his girlfriend to inquire about another man while remaining as silent as a turtle.
Yet.
When I glanced up, I found him gazing at me with a melancholic expression, as if he wished to speak yet refrained. I was thoroughly exasperated with their antics.
Fortunately,
Lan Qi's timely arrival provided me with an escape. I was unaware of what he had discussed. Upon emerging, Mr. Chu appeared pale as a ghost. Lan Qi, however, wore a cheerful expression. Shall we head home?
yes.
Later, I learned that Lan Qi's visit to the Chu residence was to transfer my household registration out of the Chu family and reclaim the shares my parents had left for me. As I held my separate household registration book, tears welled in my eyes, and a head rested on my shoulder, pitifully asking, meow meow. May I appear on your household registration? I wrapped my arms around his neck in response, sealing my answer with a kiss. Taken aback by my sudden boldness, Lan Qi froze for a moment before promptly lifting me into his arms. Our clothes were barely removed. With a slight exertion, they were rendered in tatters. In the dim light, he knelt before me, showering me with reverent kisses from head to toe. Initially maintaining a gentle demeanor, it eventually grew somewhat feral. I could hardly bear it and bit down on his shoulder. He let out a low gasp and leaned closer to my ear, whispering, Master. My taut body instantly softened. I was uncertain what mermaids were made of, but until dawn, he remained insatiable. With his long limbs, I felt as though I had fallen into a spider's web, utterly devoid of any chance to escape. Amidst a symphony of humble pleas, I was compelled to revel throughout the night. In the early morning, just as I had finally drifted off to sleep, my phone rang abruptly. With my eyes closed, I answered. Qi Miao, today is Brother Chu's birthday. When will you be coming? It was Gu Xing, a friend of Chu Yi's. He was the only one among Chu Yi's circle who had not fallen under Zhong Tiantian's spell. Same place as before. I've saved you a seat. And Chu Yi even ordered your favorite blueberry cake. I interrupted him. Brother Gu, I want to be going. My fiancé is rather clingy and cannot be without me. Without waiting for a response, I hung up. The man behind me leaned in, pulling me into his embrace. Meow meow, I covered his mouth.
No.
You do not. Meanwhile, Gu Xing, having been abruptly hung up on, looked awkwardly at Chu Yi. He had not intended to call, but Chu Yi insisted. And now Qi Miao had blocked him, yet he felt compelled to intrude. Chu Yi had felt indifferent when he discovered he had been blocked, thinking it was merely Qi Miao being upset with him. However, hearing her refer to another man as her fiancé tightened his heart as if it were being gripped. Every year on his birthday, Qi Miao was always the busiest. She would select gifts for him long in advance, bake a cake for him on the day, and meticulously prepare a bowl of longevity noodles. Yet now, she hadn't even uttered a single happy birthday. Chu Yi was bewildered as to why he felt so dejected, his mind swirling in confusion. Zhong Tiantian comforted him beside him. Yi, do not be upset. If you crave longevity noodles, I can cook them for you. Chu Yi remained silent, merely adjusting the location of the gathering to whose city. On that day, Lan Qi left early in the morning. I found myself at home with nothing to do. I am in stitches. Lan Qi has finally emerged from that dismal study of his. He pretends to be a scholar all day, yet secretly adores urban romance novels. Lan Qi, I am even a complete illiterate. It's a pity the female lead seems as dense as wood, utterly oblivious to the mermaid's subtle schemes. Don't say that. The brooding mermaid spends every day in the study devising ways to entice his wife. I felt a bit embarrassed. I had assured him that I would not leave him, yet he still seemed so insecure. Curiously, I pushed open the door to the study, only to be greeted by a massive poster of myself hanging on the wall. What sort of sense does it make to have my portrait in the study? Lan Qi often worked here, and I had assumed his desk was cluttered with documents. Upon a cursory glance, I noticed titles such as How to Capture a Woman's Heart, The best life for a man who acts cute, a man's tears, a woman's excitement, and the type of man that women cannot resist. My eyes swept across the bookshelf, densely populated with an array of romance novels and popular science tomes. I picked up the folder on his desk, and upon opening it, I was greeted by a collection of candid photographs of myself. Beneath each image was a meticulous account of the shooting context. July 3rd. Caught in a playful encounter with a kitten, imagining it nestled in her embrace, yearning for a kiss. August 7th. Having devoured half a watermelon. My rounded belly a testament to my delightfully full state. September 6th. Attempting to cool off at the pool, only to doze off after a mere lap. My sleeping posture adorably charming. I finally recognized the comments, dubbing him a moist merman as fitting. Such perverse tendencies are indeed beyond the grasp of any ordinary person. I returned everything to its rightful place and dialed a call to Lan Qi. Since he was deliberately enticing me, I felt compelled to play along. While collecting tales of domineering male leads at the bookstore, I summoned him to a ready-to-wear shop with just one phone call. I handed him several fitted tops.
Do give them a try.
How does that phrase go? A black turtleneck sweater, a garment exclusively for men, paired with black silk. With those prominent, sculpted pectorals and well-defined biceps, he exuded an irresistible aura of restrained masculinity that left me momentarily speechless. After sifting through a collection of seemingly respectable attire, a flush crept onto Lan Qi's cheeks as he led me to a seafood restaurant. Can you even eat seafood if you're a fish? He lightly tapped my head. Do you think we only dine on seaweed in the ocean? He stepped away to place our order when an unexpected guest entered our private room. I knew it looked like Qi Miao, you all insisted otherwise. A few of Chu Yi's friends had arrived uninvited. Qi Miao, claiming to be with her fiancé. I knew you would come for E.G.'s birthday. I've picked out the gifts, Chu Yi remarked, spotting several bags beside her, each adorned with the logo of a brand he often wore. A smirk crept onto his lips. With her taste, who would wear what she buys? Zhong Tian squeezed to the front, familiar enough to grasp my hand. Meow meow. Why didn't you say you were coming? I thought you were still upset with me. Come on, let us head to our private room. I made mango cake. It's absolutely delicious. You're in for a treat. I politely declined. No, I'm allergic to mangoes. Also, I'm not here to attend your so-called gathering. I merely came for a meal. Chu Yi scoffed. If I tell you to go, just go. Why, be so stubborn. Hand over the gifts. I rubbed my temples. Did these people truly lack comprehension? Lan Qi entered. What gifts? He wrapped his arm around my shoulders. Addressing everyone, ladies and gentlemen, my fiancé and I are merely having dinner. Do we really need such a crowd? Chu Yi glared at Lan Qi. Qi Miao knows it's my birthday and specially brought gifts. I can't disregard her intentions. Lan Qi scoffed. Someone is rather full of themselves. The clothes my fiancé bought for me have suddenly become your gifts? Can you even wear them, skinny dog? You. Chu Yi's face turned ashen. I shook Lan Qi's hand. Shall we change venues? They're quite bothersome. Lan Qi nodded, leading me away. Don't leave. Clarify this. Chu Yi tugged at my sleeve, only to see our fingers entwined, adorned with the tear of the merman. I frowned and said, Chu Yi, we no longer share any ties. Is there any need for me to explain? From the moment I left the Chu family, I was no longer his adopted sister. On the day I departed the Chu household, we ceased to be friends. He released his grip, a look of desolation washing over him, yet I remained unperturbed. Originally slated to marry in 3 months, I discovered that Lan Qi had been penning nightly entries in his journal, questioning whether I would leave him. He embraced my waist, softly weeping, meow meow, can we please marry soon? I'm so scared. I had no choice but to advance the wedding date. The night before the wedding, I had just lulled a tearful Lan Qi to sleep when Chu Yi called. Meow meow, I can't sleep. Take sleeping pills.
No, meow meow.
Will you sing me a lullaby? I fell silent. Please don't marry anyone else, meow meow. You promised you would marry me. I know I upset you. I promise it won't happen again. Meow meow, will you come back? His voice cracked with emotion. Oddly enough, while listening to Lan Qi cry fills me with excitement and empathy, Chu Yi's tears only evoke my annoyance. If you're unwell, seek a doctor. If there's an issue, consult your parents. Chu Yi, stop calling me. I'm about to become a mother, and you're still here whining. Without waiting for him to say more, I hung up. Chu Yi held his phone, momentarily stunned. My words, "I'm about to become a mother," echoed in his ears like a curse. Later on, Chu's mother and Gu Xing bombarded me with calls, which I chose to ignore. I heard that Chu Yi's insomnia had resurfaced, with Zhong Tian keeping vigil by his side around the clock, but to no avail. He grasped his phone, listening to the lullaby I had once recorded for him, tears streaming down his face. The Chu family, recognizing Zhong Tiantian's dwindling worth, promptly cast her aside. Unwilling to accept her fate, she incessantly texted, cursing me for my relentless presence. The following day, she was summoned to the police station. On the day of my wedding, I didn't inform the Chu family, yet Chu Yi still appeared. Standing in a corner, his eyes darkened, he gazed upon me as I exchanged vows with Lan Qi, resembling a discarded dog, stripped of all strength and means. On our wedding night, Lan Qi donned that black attire, kneeling before me, allowing me to direct him. 3 words encapsulated the splendid scene before me: taut, restrained, submissive. Oh, why are your ears so red? On his honey-hued skin, patches of crimson blossomed. Lan Qi lifted his face, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Suddenly, the long silent comments surged forth. I declare a 120 centimeters bust is the finest dowry for a man. I'm about to pass out. The dominant is lying low, and being able to cry is a blessing. The merman even took medication to ensure his tears flowed abundantly. Didn't he? I can't take it anymore. My nosebleed is imminent. Can we please avoid turning off the lights and finish this episode before the grand finale? Let me steal one last glance before I depart. This is my only wish in this life.
Chi miau truly possesses remarkable restraint.
I feared I might lose my composure as Lan Qi grasped my hand, placing it over his heart, pitifully calling out, "Meow meow." My heart is racing.
Du listen.
The live stream has concluded. Please enjoy at your leisure. I pushed him down and turned off the lights. My cherished husband seemed unwell, appearing rather poor in health. Fortunately, my culinary skills were exceptional, though it did require some effort.
The end.
Thank you for listening. See you in the next story.